I adjusted my visitor's badge in the elevator of Anderson Technologies headquarters, feeling like an outsider in the company that should have been partly mine. The quarterly shareholders meeting was starting in 20 minutes, and for the first time in 5 years, I had a front row seat to my family's empire. "Hold the elevator," a familiar voice called out. My brother Michael rushed in, his Italian suit probably worth more than my car. He didn't recognize me. Why would he? The last time we'd spoken, I was being escorted out of this building by security. "Thanks," he muttered, barely glancing at me while typing on his phone. 15th floor? Actually, the conference room level, I replied quietly. Shareholders meeting. That made him look up, frowning at my visitor's badge. "That's a restricted meeting. Who are you representing?" I smiled. "Nova Software Solutions." His eyes widened slightly. Anderson Technologies had been desperately trying to identify Nova's ownership for months. Our software had become the backbone of their operations, yet no one knew who really controlled the company. "You're from Nova." Michael straightened his tie. "I've been trying to arrange a meeting with your CEO for weeks." "I know," I said as the elevator doors opened. "Your emails were quite persistent." 5 years earlier, I sat in my father's office on this very floor, presenting my ideas for modernizing Anderson Technologies' software infrastructure. I had just graduated summa cum laude in computer science from MIT, but that didn't matter to him. "This is a serious company, Eliza," he'd said, barely glancing at my proposal. "We need experienced professionals, not amateur programming experiments." "Dad, our current systems are outdated. If we don't innovate." "Enough." He cut me off. "Michael and David handle the technical direction of this company. They have MBAs, real business experience. You can join the marketing department if you want to work here so badly." My brothers, Michael and David, had smirked from their corner office doorways. Neither of them could write a line of code, but they were Dad's golden boys, groomed to inherit the empire. That night, I started writing the code that would become Nova Software's core product. I worked from my small apartment, living on savings and determination. When the first version was ready, I used a friend's consulting company to pitch it to Anderson Technologies. They never knew that the team of developers they hired was just me, working through sleepless nights to create something revolutionary. Within 6 months, my software was handling their entire operational infrastructure. Through careful shell companies and NDAs, I kept my identity hidden as Nova Software grew. We expanded to other major tech companies, but Anderson Technologies remained our biggest client. Every quarter, they paid millions in licensing fees to use software written by the daughter they'd dismissed. Now, watching Michael check his reflection in the elevator doors, I thought about the thumb drive in my pocket. It contained proof of my ownership of Nova Software, along with some other interesting discoveries I'd made while deeply embedded in Anderson's systems. "The meeting's about to start," Michael announced unnecessarily as we stepped out of the elevator. "Try not to take up too much time with the Nova presentation. We have important matters to discuss." I followed him into the conference room, noting how little had changed. The same oversized portraits of my father and brothers dominated the walls. The same air of masculine corporate power pervaded everything. My father sat at the head of the table, flanked by Michael and David. They were discussing quarterly projections, completely ignoring the visitor from Nova Software. Other shareholders and board members filed in. I recognized most of them. Old family friends who'd watched me grow up, executives who dismissed me as the Anderson girl who plays with computers. "Let's begin," my father announced once everyone was seated. "First order of business, the proposed acquisition of Nova Software Solutions." That got my attention. I hadn't known they were planning this. "As you know," David stood up, clicking through his presentation, "Nova's software has become essential to our operations. We've made several generous offers to buy the company, but their mysterious CEO refuses to sell." Michael jumped in. "We've arranged a hostile takeover through subsidiary holdings. Once we control Nova, we can integrate their technology fully into Anderson Technologies." I almost laughed. They were trying to steal my company just like they tried to steal my future 5 years ago. "Any questions before we vote?" my father asked. I raised my hand, enjoying how Michael frowned at my interruption. "Yes," David said impatiently. "The representative from Nova has the floor." I stood up slowly, removing my visitor's badge. "Actually, I'm not just a representative. I'm Nova's CEO, founder, and majority shareholder." I paused, savoring the confused looks. but you might remember me better as the amateur programmer you kicked out 5 years ago." The room fell silent as recognition dawned on their faces. My father's coffee cup froze halfway to his mouth. "Eliza?" David whispered. I plugged my thumb drive into the presentation laptop. "Now about that hostile takeover plan. There are some things you really need to know about who's actually controlling what in this room." The screens behind me flickered to life, and I watched my family's empire begin to crumble in real time. The screens behind me displayed a complex web of corporate structures, financial transactions, and code repositories. 5 years of meticulous documentation laid bare for everyone to see. "Let's start with the basics," I said, clicking to the first slide. "Nova Software doesn't just provide your operational infrastructure. We built the entire foundation your company runs on. Every line of code, every system update, every security patch, all created by the amateur programmer you dismissed." My father found his voice first. "This is impossible. You're bluffing." "Am I?" I pulled up the source code for Anderson's core systems. "See these signature blocks? This coding style? I learned it at MIT. The same skills you said weren't professional enough for Anderson Technologies are now worth $300 million in annual licensing fees." Michael stood up, his face red. "Security. Get her out of here." "They won't come," I said calmly. "The security system is run by Nova Software, just like your email servers, your financial systems, and your network infrastructure. Would you like to see what happens when I revoke your access?" I typed a quick command. Every screen in the room went dark except the main presentation display. 3 minutes, I announced. That's how long it would take me to shut down every Anderson Technology system worldwide. Your empire would grind to a halt because the mature you excluded actually controls everything. David lunged for his phone. "I'm calling the police." "Go ahead," I shrugged. "I have contracts, licenses, and documentation proving Nova's legal ownership of all this technology. But more importantly," I clicked to the next slide, "I have proof of some interesting financial decisions you've been making with company funds." The board members leaned forward, their eyes widening at the transactions displayed on screen. "Embezzlement," I continued. "Tax evasion. Insider trading. All carefully hidden in systems you thought nobody could access. But I built those systems, remember? I see everything." "What do you want?" My father's voice was barely a whisper. "Originally, I wanted to help modernize our family company, to use my skills to build something meaningful." I met his eyes across the table. "But you decided an MIT education and passion for technology weren't as valuable as MBAs and business connections." I turned to the board members. "You're about to vote on a hostile takeover of Nova Software, but Nova isn't for sale. In fact," I pulled up another document, "we've just acquired controlling interest in Anderson Technologies through a series of shell companies and proxy votes." The room erupted in chaos. Board members shouted questions, my brothers turned pale, and my father slumped in his chair. "You can't do this," Michael protested. "We're family." "Family?" I laughed. "Was it family when you had security escort me out? When you mocked my amateur coding? When you tried to steal my company?" I clicked through more slides showing Nova's growth, acquisitions, and market position. "While you were busy protecting your precious MBAs and corner offices, I built something bigger than Anderson Technologies could ever be. Nova Software doesn't just run your systems. We run systems for half the Fortune 500. My father stood up shakily. "We can work this out. Come back to Anderson. Take my position. Just don't." "Don't what?" "Reveal that your sons have been embezzling millions, that your company runs entirely on technology you rejected, that you're now working for the daughter you excluded." I turned to the board members. "I'm not here to destroy Anderson Technologies. I'm here to save it. Nova Software will acquire Anderson, modernize its operations, and transform it into a true tech leader. But there will be changes." The vote was quick and decisive. Within an hour, Anderson Technologies became a subsidiary of Nova Software. My brothers were escorted out of the building, this time by the security system I controlled. My father resigned, effective immediately. As the board members filed out, many stopping to shake my hand or offer congratulations, I sat in my father's former chair. The portraits of him and my brothers still hung on the walls, but not for long. Ms. Anderson, my assistant, entered, the same woman who'd been my best friend at MIT and helped me start Nova. "The press is waiting for the announcement. And you have a call from Forbes. They want to do a cover story. Tell them I'll call back, I said, looking around the room where I'd once been told I wasn't qualified enough. I'm busy redecorating. Over the next few months, Anderson Technologies transformed. The old guard was replaced with talented developers and engineers, hired for their skills, not their connections. The embezzled funds were recovered, the systems modernized further, and the company culture completely rebuilt. My brothers tried to sue, claiming I'd violated family trust. Their case fell apart when my documentation of their financial crimes came to light. They both took plea deals to avoid jail time. My father sent lengthy emails about family loyalty and forgiveness. I archived them all, just like I'd archived his dismissals of my abilities years ago. 1 year after the takeover, I stood in my office, now at Nova's headquarters, not Anderson's, looking at the magazine covers and awards on my wall. 30 under 30 in tech. Most innovative CEO, Woman of the Year in technology. My phone buzzed. A message from my father. Just saw Anderson's stock price hit an all-time high. I was wrong about you. Can we talk? I smiled, remembering his words from that day in his office. We need experienced professionals, not amateur programming experiments. My reply was simple. Sorry, I'm too busy running my amateur programming experiment. But feel free to buy some Nova stock if you can afford it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't taking over a family empire. It's building something so much bigger that the empire becomes just a small part of your success. The portraits of my father and brothers were replaced with something else. The first lines of code I wrote for Nova Software, framed and mounted where everyone could see it. Underneath, a small plaque reads, "Never let anyone define your qualifications. Success is the best revenge." As for Anderson Technologies, it's now just a minor subsidiary in Nova's portfolio. But I kept the name, as a reminder that sometimes the person they exclude becomes the person they end up working for. And those systems my brothers tried to steal, they still run on my amateur code. Every time they try to log into their restricted company accounts, they're greeted with a simple message, "Access denied. Please contact the amateur programmer for assistance." Some say success is the best revenge. I say success is just the beginning. The real satisfaction comes from watching them realize that everything they tried to take from you was just a small part of what you built without them.